Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for August 12th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded show for you today. My boy Gino from drf.com is this week's special guest. We're going to give a betting preview of the NFC West. But before I get into all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, ProphetX. If you're not using ProphetX, go to the App Store, download ProphetX, use promo code ETOFT21. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you with everything going on in the gambling industry. This peer-to-peer betting platform is going to be the future. And if you use my promo code, it really helps me out. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and let's welcome this week's special guest from drf.com. Make sure to check out drf.com for some great sports book bonuses. Let's go ahead and welcome Gino to the show. Gino, how you doing today, my man?
Doing well. I'm out in Dallas right now, so I had to rock my Luka Lakers jersey just to get in some fights with some Mavs fans. I'm excited. I'm ready.
I'm sure the people of Dallas really like that.
They appreciated it for sure. Yeah.
So one thing I always try to do is I always try to get people that I have done work with in the past to come on when I'm previewing a division with one of the teams they like. For you, it's the Rams, so I'm really interested to see where your head is for this. I have a future that's like 80-1. I absolutely love in this one. It's a little off the beaten path, so interested to hear your thoughts about that. So let's jump right into it. First team we're going to talk about is the San Francisco 49ers. All these odds are per my bookie. Sports to win the Super Bowl plus 1950, to win the NFC plus 790, NFC West plus 155, over under of 11.5 to make the playoffs, minus 198 to miss the playoffs, plus 160. What say you, my friend?
Couple of really important things with this team, right? Which version of Christian McCaffrey are we going to get? Are we going to get the guy who is one of the best players in the league and one of the most impactful? Or are we going to get the guy last year who, beginning of the season, a lot of people were drafting McCaffrey as the #1 overall pick in fantasy, and then all of a sudden he's just not around. We hear that he was in Germany, had surgery. It kept going longer and longer. He was missing time. Didn't really see himself last year. So this is an interesting team because they're not as deep offensively, and they don't have that overwhelming talent without Debo here as well. But their schedule this year, Eric, because they had such a bad year, is one of the softer schedules. I'm going to do something with them this year that you do a lot with, and I've learned from you. I'm going to wait and hope that there's a specific time in the year when I could really play this team, because I could see them actually not having the easiest start to the season. The first 2 games, probably winnable games, but they're on the road. I'm actually waiting for the San Francisco at Seattle game. If it gets to Seattle +3, that's when I'm going to jump in on Seattle and play that week 1 at home. I could see, they go to New Orleans week 2, then Arizona, Jacksonville. They have games at the Rams and at Tampa Bay. Those probably won't be easy games. Then Atlanta, at Houston, at the Giants, Rams, week 11 at Arizona. I'm hoping that by week 11, San Francisco is like 5-6 or 6-5. And then that's when we bet them, Eric, to win the division, to make the playoffs, all those kinds of wagers. Because look at following the Arizona game. Week 12, home for Carolina. Week 13, at Cleveland. Then a late bye in week 14. Then home for Tennessee, at Indy, home for Chicago, home for Seattle. That is a cake close to the season. So I'm actually hoping they lose a couple games early in the year, stumble a bit, and then we can bet them at much better odds late in the year. They, to me, are an interesting team. I don't know kind of asking you, what do you expect from Brock Purdy this year now that he's gotten paid? You think he's going to be able to take another step, or do you think we've kind of seen the best of Brock Purdy?
I mean, it kind of depends on what you get from Ryan Pearsall. When we look at the splits with Debo, without Debo, Ayuk's not going to be back till week 6. Juwan Jennings, watching new contract. Kittle's a year older. What are we going to get from CMC, like you said? I think it kind of depends on what the weapons look around him. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, what are we going to see from him?
Because last year I believe they were 31st in percentage of yards after the catch. And that's why they struggled. Because that was a thing that for Shanahan with Jimmy G and with Purdy, they didn't have to have a top tier quarterback because they could just have a guy that was accurate, put the ball on line, and they would get a lot of yards after the catch with Debo, with Kittle, with McCaffrey and those types. I do like, this is another thing that you point out. I like the way that their wide receivers complement each other. I think they fit well in the room, right? You got like a slot guy. You've got a guy that can go down the field. You've got possession receiver. You've got Kittle there, but they're not all healthy. And they're certainly not just overall as talented as they've been in years past with the wide receiving group. I do think a positive will be a guy that you and I gave a hard time as a head coach, Saleh, right? He wasn't a great head coach, but he was a very good defensive coordinator. And he got guys to kind of punch up. They're going to need to be schemed correctly because they're just not quite as good overall defensively top to bottom as they've been the last few years. I'm kind of hemming and hawing with them, but I think the real thing I'm going to play is I'm going to try to wait for them, play them late in the season. And I think one of the guys I really do want to target is if you can get Kittle, I think, as the tight end 2, because a lot of people are drafting McBride first, right? Is he kind of going 1?
McBride and Bowers have been 1-2.
1-2. So I think if you can get Kittle in the 4th round, I would do that. I think he's going to be great this year. If he stays healthy, you mentioned he's a little bit older. The key for Kittle is when he's on the field, he's awesome. He's incredible. So he's one of the players on their team that I would target. I think I feel the safest about him overall in fantasy. So I would look to him. I was even thinking about some Kittle touchdown props that I could look to, like over touchdowns on the season. He's the one player from this team I think I do want to target.
49ers for me are interesting. You know, Shanahan's entering year 9. He's reached the NFC Championship game, and this stat kind of blew my mind. In 4 of the last 5 healthy seasons, so that obviously last year kind of derailed by the health issues they have. They still have a really effective outside zone West Coast offense blend, and Clay Kubiak, the youngest Kubiak kid, is now going to be the OC, and he's going to take over the play calling duties. I think that's really going to lighten up Shanahan's workload. You mentioned Salen coming back. Jets defense was an issue.
No.
You know, previously led top 5 units in 5 of those 6 seasons in San Francisco. They're going to run a lot more matchup zone compared to what they did in last year. 2024 CMC 4 games, Ayuk 10 games, Trent Williams 7 games. Kittle, Purdy, Debo, all missed multiple games. But the thing that really stood out to me at the end of the year when I was looking at DVOA, still 10th in offense. I think that's a huge credit to the scheme. When we look at Purdy, 10th in passing yards last season, but the offense was heavily yards after catch, as you mentioned, 26 in deep ball. And that's just pretty much the Shanahan principle. Pre-slap motion, play action, short intermediate crossing patterns, complex concepts to create mismatches. The wide receiver position, for me, it's all about Pearsall. He needs to develop into that Debo style hybrid role, physical yards after catch focus. You mentioned depth is thin. Ayuk likely out till week 6. Juwan Jennings has the contract issues, so they're really thin at the wide receiver position. The running scheme, look, it's outside zone, and it remains a heartbeat of the team. And look, it's just one of those things. It is RP proof. CMC in 2019 led the league in rushing touchdowns, and in 2021, Elijah Mitchell, a 6th-round rookie, finished the 15. When we talk about the O-line, weak at right tackle, thin behind starters, and Trent Williams' age, that's a little worry to me. I mentioned the RP. If you're going to gamble on CMC, You obviously have to take Isaac Guerrero. He's kind of dealing with some injuries too. They drafted Jordan James, a rookie from Oregon. If you're in a deeper league and it's like 17, 18 rounds and you're looking for a flyer, not a bad or a best ball, not a bad thing. 2024 defensively, drop off was schematic, not injury based. Solid return, should restore discipline, zone integrity, better safety usage.
Fantasy wise, when would you be okay with drafting with CMC? Like what number would?
I'm not going to.
Yeah, you wouldn't even draft him. I don't think I could draft him. I think I could only do it if it was on the turn after I got a first round pick. Like I think if he was around and I had the snake, at the back end of like the first round and I got someone else and then a McCaffrey, that might be the only position because I just couldn't invest a first round pick or a high pick on him again. I don't think I could do it.
I'll be honest, like one of my drafts, we did the draft lotto yesterday. I got the second pick. Already in my head, my perfect, to me, you can't miss on wide receiver. I already have it mapped out in my head. I'm going Justin Jefferson, then based on his ADP, Nico Collins is going to be there. And then my flyer as my third pick is going to be Garrett Wilson. Because that way everyone's going to be staggered. One of them will always be in the flex. Those are the three main guys. Some situational factors for the Niners. Easiest schedule in the league. 2-1-6 in one possession games. Prime for some positive regression. Last year, they got killed in the negative rest advantage. Today, they are plus 33 days, and they do not face any team coming off a bye, which is huge.
Yeah.
In Brent Boyer, after the disastrous 2024 special teams to be the new special teams coach, they're the most injured team in the NFL last season. Now, if we look at the past 8 Super Bowls, there have been the Eagles, Tom Brady, whatever team Brady plays for, the Chiefs, the Rams, the 49ers, and then one rogue Bengals appearance. It's been one of those teams every single year the last 8 years. So with that being said, I bet them 20-1 to win it all. Look, I know CMC's durability. I know the wide receiver depth. I know the O-line injuries. I know the secondary. But to me, Salah's defensive return is massive. Healthy playmakers put this offense in top 3. I think the market is going to overreact to this 2024 collapse. We forget this team was 10-1 before the injuries hit. In week 11, they were 10-1, and then everything just fell off the face of the earth. And this NFC path is so much softer than the gauntlet known as the AFC.
Yep.
So for me, I put the 49ers 20-1. I mean, I'll be honest.
They're the team. They're a team I would take flyers on, just like you're saying, on futures like that. I don't know if I would bet them on like an over-under or to win the division. I would prefer, because I think they have one of the higher ceilings, lower floors. Like things could be bad for them again if guys are hurt. If we don't see IU coming back for a while, maybe CMC gets banged up early on. Kittle's a little bit older, and now all of a sudden you're gonna really have to try to lean on Brock Purdy. I could see it going poorly if those guys are healthy with the easy schedule. If all of a sudden they're 5-2, and then they're going to have that cake schedule at the end of the year, they could be, having multiple home games in the NFC and be in a really good situation. So, yeah, I do think they're one of the higher range that we could see from any of these teams here, because it wouldn't shock me at all if they won 13 games, right? But it wouldn't shock me at all if, on the flip side, they won 7 games. I think we're really going to find out with their health, because coaching staff is good. They have some top tier talent, but they're not quite as deep. So they need to get a little bit lucky along the way.
Next team we are going to shift our attention to is we are going down to Arizona. 52-1 to win the Super Bowl, 26-1 to win the NFC, plus 430 to win the West, over under of 8.5 to make the playoffs, plus 115 to miss, minus 141. What say you about the Arizona Cardinals?
I like this team a little bit this year, Eric. Offensively, they have a good offensive line. They run the ball really well. James Conner is one of the most underrated players in all of football. If you look at the last few years and you're comparing almost all running back stats, He is in the top 5 in basically everything. Just yards from scrimmage the last couple of years, he was second only behind Derrick Henry. You just kind of forget about this guy. And the offensive line is very good. They have one of the top tight ends in the league with McBride. And their wide receiver room, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's got to take a step forward off of last year. But I actually like Dortch as sort of a flyer. They need another step forward from Michael Wilson, too, who kind of regressed a little bit last year. I like them offensively quite a bit. Defensively, I think I like their secondary, and they have some young pieces that I think can take a nice step forward. And I look at their schedule, Eric, week 1, at New Orleans, week 2 at Carolina. They could very easily be week 2 home for Carolina. They could very easily be 2-0 to start. Then they play San Francisco, then home for Seattle, home for Tennessee, at Indy, Green Bay through 7 weeks. I'm saying 5-2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're in a really nice spot. Now things are going to get tougher for them after the bye. Dallas, at Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, at Tampa. But at that point, some of the young defensive pieces should be moving forward. And I have never really been a Kyler Murray guy, Eric. I think you and I both have kind of not liked the leadership, not like some of the off the field stuff. I've been hearing a lot of the positive stuff actually in training camp. I know he had a game over the weekend where at the end of the game, he didn't have the greatest play, but I like that he talked after, and he just seems like he's growing up and maturing a little bit. I don't know if he's going to win a Super Bowl with this team, but regular season, I played his over passing yards, which he's hit the over on passing yards, I think 4 of the years. And every season that he's played at least 11 games, he's hit his over on the passing yards. I think that's one I'm hitting on for sure. And rushing yards. Last year was his second highest season in rushing yards. He actually made a comment in the offseason and talked about how he was watching Lamar and seeing how Lamar is able to dominate games using his legs and that he wants to do more of it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Kyler's actually said a few things, and some of the people around him have said some things that I haven't heard about him before. So I think that they can move in the right direction. I like this team. I mean, I would play them as a flyer to win the division. I would play them on their over win totals. And I'm going to pick Kyler in a couple fantasy leagues this year. I'm going to draft James Conner. I like him a lot in fantasy leagues as well. Those are 2 guys that I'm going to focus in on. I'm going to bet some of Kyler's overs on the futures that I said. And I like what I saw from this team last year. Inconsistent. And that's a young team. They would have these awesome weeks where they would look super impressive and beat up the 49ers, and then they would lay an egg. And it seemed like every time they would have some hype, they would kind of lay an egg. And that's just a mark of a young team. I like them this year, Eric. I think there's some talent. I think there's some serious offensive talent with this team. And I think their defense is a little bit underrated. So I'm going to be looking in on them, and there are going to be a lot of games I'm playing. In particular, I feel like week 3, when they go at San Francisco, that'll probably be a game I play, depending on, what happens the first couple of weeks, especially if like San Francisco wins a couple games at that point and they're, 3.5 point favorite or something like that against Arizona. I would definitely keep an eye on that game. And if it's anything more than 3 or above, I'm going to be playing on the Arizona side. I think they're sneaky this year, Eric.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals too. Looking at it, I'm going to start at their offensive line. 4th in pass blocking, 13th in run blocking, 5th in sacks allowed, 10th in adjusted yards. But the big thing is Adams, who is their offensive line coach last year, is now the OC for the Dallas Cowboys. Justin Fry steps in, first year in the NFL as a coach, but he was the offensive line coach with Chip Kelly when Chip Kelly was with Ohio State last year. 2024, so major improvement despite some preseason doubts and the offseason moves played out. The entire offensive line returns. Adams, who was a rookie last year, should improve. He was their weakest link. In terms of their offense, all of it depends. Can Marvin Harrison Jr. take that step and be that down the field threat? I'm a little bit, I need that. And also, when looking at this team, we saw how the Browns fell off the face of the earth when Callahan left to be with his son with the Titans. Is that going to happen here? Are we going to see this offensive line, which was dominant last year, take a step backwards? Jonathan Gannon and OC Drew Petzing return for year 3. Up-tempo, West Coast, heavy RPO, multiple tight end sacks, 46% of dropbacks. Highest tight end share in the NFL, 34%. Their whole offense is just designed to isolate Trey McBride in favorable matchups. Kyler Murray threw an 85.8% of RPO snaps, higher than Pretzi, who's the OC prefers. He's been very vocal about looking for Murray to use his legs more. Offense is a system first, and the players are required to fit, not the other way around. It honestly doesn't matter who the tight end is. It could be Njoku. It's going to be a tight end centric offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. volume concerns. Wide receivers only had 47% of the targets. That's the third lowest over the past 2 years. Murray targets the left side, the X receiver 43% of the time, third most in the NFL. Needs improvement in contested catches for Harrison. Caught only 42. Now, the thing that blew my mind is Trey McBride had 2 touchdowns last year, and he finished as tight end 2. I mean, like, if he had any touchdowns, he would be blowing Brock Bowers out of the water. RB target share 17.4, strong for PPR. Connors, you mentioned him, 87.9% usage in the red zone, but he does tune 30. So if you do draft him, you got to make sure you get Benson.
Yep.
Defense.
Connors is good, but he always misses a couple games. Like he's getting a little bit older. 3 or 4 games, he's going to get banged up. He's fantastic when he's in the lineup, but you're absolutely right, and I totally agree. You want to make sure you get Benson along with him.
Last year, they really did struggle against the one, and I liked what they did. They went out, they got Calais Combo, Elton Thompson, drafted Walter Noel from Florida.
Will Johnson.
Ed Rusher, Josh Swentz, who reunites with Gannon, who he had in double digits in Philadelphia. Pass rush, 18th in sacks last year, with bottom 6 in pressure rate. If Sweat can create pressure, natural press rush, it's going to be huge. Gannon, his specialized is design coverage. And I think if this pass rush can develop, that's going to be a huge step for him. When you look at some situational factors, 9th easy schedule. You mentioned the start of their season. I mean, their start of the season, you could not dream up a better start to the season.
Perfect.
They're the Cardinals. 90% of their salary cap and 6 of their 7 draft picks were on this defensive side of the ball. And I kind of like that because when you look back at their team last year, their offense was great. Their defense was a letdown.
Offense is top 10 in almost all metrics last year, and they've got all of the key playmakers coming back.
Yep.
And a good offensive line.
Yep. I believe in Gannon as a DC. Now, look, I did mention some of the risks, but I'm going to buy him. I like the coaching staff. I like the scheme. Defense could make a top 10 leap with the front 7 upgrades. Harrison Jr., McBride form one of the best young receiving duos in the league. You have continuity in the offensive line. Kyler Murray's dual threat skill set keeps the offense dangerous. Defense is going to take a huge step forward. You have favorable scheduling. I was able to find the Arizona Cardinals at plus 148 to make the playoffs, and I think that's how I'm going to play them.
I like that. I would even look at if you want to go on the win total and some of the adjusted wins, like 9.5 wins at plus 140. I was seeing even a 10.5 wins at plus 240. I think that's super logical. You can take a little swing at them in the division if you'd like also, because and just kind of handicapping the division. I feel like Seattle's a little young and they're like a year or 2 away from maybe being competitive in the division. San Francisco and the Rams, they feel like the top 2 teams. For both of those teams, we could very easily see them falling off. We've talked about the 49ers. They're already banged up a little bit. We don't really know if we can trust Brock Purdy as a $50 million a year quarterback to carry the load. And defensively, they have some questions. They're not as deep. The Rams, who we're going to talk about in a minute, I mean, if Stafford's not healthy, all of a sudden they don't have a shot. Right? Like if they don't have Stafford and a healthy Stafford, then the Rams aren't going to be a team that is going to be a Super Bowl contender and probably not a division contender. You could very easily talk yourself into just like a nice setup for Arizona. They're certainly the team to bet in this division if you're looking for one of the teams to bet at that price. and they have a nice start to the season with their schedule.
I mean, you couldn't dream it up. And then the thing is who knows if they start 6-1, 7-0, you're going to get a great opportunity to play it back the other way and make money either way.
Absolutely.
Let's go up to Seattle.
Yep.
58-1 to win the Super Bowl, 30-1 to win the NFC, plus 540 to win the West, over under of 7.5 to make the playoffs, plus 169 to miss the playoffs, minus 210. Where's your head at with the Seattle Seahawks, my friend?
Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of a credit on a couple different things. First, last year, you were waiting all along for Sammy Darnold to see those ghosts again. You knew it was coming at some point. He was going to see those ghosts again, and he did. So at the end of the year, come playoff time, they crashed back down to earth. Sam had a pretty good year last year. He's going to be filling in, kind of taking the Geno Smith spot. I actually heard a lot of positives that he's just getting the ball out of his hands quickly in camp, not trying to think too much, because that's when he gets himself into trouble, as we saw. When he reminds me of like a third baseman. Sam Darnold is a very good like when he's coached. When he has to start thinking too much and process the information, that's sometimes where I think he gets, like, he wants to make it perfect, or he wants to make the perfect throw. When he can just see and throw and see and react, that's when he can really succeed. I'm hoping that we can get 3 and above for week 1. I'd love to play them as a home dog week 1 against San Francisco. I just don't know if I would want to be locked up to this team for anything season-wide. There'll be a couple times throughout the year, I think, in some scheduled spots where you can kind of pick and choose spots to hit, like that week 1 spot. But one thing that concerns me about them, Eric, the offensive line, it's bad. And I don't know, like, they tried to address it. They should be a little bit better, but they're still going to have to improve a lot more from last year. This team wants to run the ball. They have a nice 1-2 running back with Walker and with Charbonnet. Walker's a little banged up early on. Do they have the line to be able to run the ball the way they want? I don't know. And then when it comes to their wide receivers, love Cooper Kupp. Did some great things with the Rams. But this is something that you always point out to me, Eric, and I've really noticed it a lot more in the years working with you. Don't Cooper Kupp and Smith and Jigba like run a lot of the same routes?
Yeah.
Like, aren't they both guys that are like playing really the same spot, in the same position? I'm worried about the way that they set up on the field. Smith and Jigba had a nice end of the season last year. We saw him starting to progress. But if him and Kupp are both out there, is somebody going to be out of their best role, right? Where they're the most successful? And did they really like stack up and slot well together? I do like their defense. I do think if you and I are talking come the end of the season and Seattle is better than projected, if Seattle wins more games than we think, it's going to be because their young players on defense stepped up and because they were able to run the ball a little bit. Like, those are the things they want to be. They want to be a team, run the ball. Sam makes a throw or two when they have to, and they have guys that can be flying all over on the defensive end. To me, I just still feel like I got to see it all come together. And I do think it's very fair for anyone who questions Sam Darnold and him alone. Do you need to see another year from him? So I just a lot of questions about this team. They're the type of team, though, Eric, against a 49ers team that was very bad stopping the run last year. And they've been awful against the run in years past. If we see this team early in the season able to run the ball a little bit, I'm going to play them against teams that can't stop the run, because those are the teams that they're going to be able to run the ball, play some defense, use their time of possession. So I do think there are teams throughout the year that you'll be able to hit on them. And in particular, I'm going to keep an eye on San Francisco in that week 1 game.
You mentioned the week 1 game. Here are some trends for everyone listening. Divisional dogs, these are in week 1, 70-49 ATS in week 1. That's 59% with a 14% ROI. Home divisional dogs, 20-15 ATS, 65% against the number with a 27% ROI. And straight up, those home divisional dogs in week 1 are 28%. There is a couple of them with the Browns. You mentioned the Seahawks, and I believe the Bucks. I believe those are the 3-4. Week 1. Let's go ahead. My thoughts are, we need to start with the offensive line, because that's where I'm interested in this team. John Benton, first year here, 10 plus NFL years. They brought in the older Kubiak son who was with the Saints last year. He's from the Shanahan tree, pure outside zone scheme, offensive line. You mentioned it last year. Pass blocking 26, run blocking 24, sacks allowed 28, adjusted yards 28 as well.
And that's why you're seeing Darnold getting the ball out of his hands quickly in camp, just because they know that's how they're going to have to play. It's going to have to be quick hits because they won't have a whole lot of time with that line.
Scheme favors small, quick linemen over massive road graders. I think there's going to be a run game boost with the scheme. I'll get to that in a second. Mike McDonald knows the team wants to run first, control games. This team was 6-2 last year. Clint Kubiak comes in as the OC, everything outside zone, heavy motion, play action. People forget how good the Saints were last year until everything
fell.
Everyone got hurt. Now they bring in my boy, Rick Dennison. For those who don't know, this guy basically invented all the Shanahan running schemes, the Kubiak running schemes. This was all this guy. This guy had Isaiah Crowell. I know everyone's like, who the hell is that?
Browns running back lead the league, right?
When he was with the Jets, he blew out his ACL. He was leading the league in rushing when Dennison was the OC. They also brought in Justin Otten, a run game specialist. Kubiak balances mix of high percentage throws and deep shots. He was actually top 5 ball in deep rate last year with New Orleans, and Sam Darnold was top 5 last year in deep ball throws. So I think they're going to use that to set up the run. Kenneth Walker is a perfect fit for this. Now, what I did, and I'll get to this in a little bit later, I have 2 bets on Kenneth Walker. I'll get to that a little bit later. Perfect fit. Zach Charbonnet, not as much. When we look at, they want to run a zone, Walker averaged 1.5 yards more than Charbonnet did in zone runs. Charbonnet and power gap runs added was like 0.8 something more a carry than Walker. So for the scheme, Walker is a better fit. Dennison, Kubiak, RB history, Adrian Foster, Justin Forsett, Mike Anderson, Alvin Kamara, revival in 2024. It was supposed to be his first season over 1,000 yards, finished with 950. If he didn't get hurt, he would have got it. Passing game, when we look at the passing game, Sam Darnold led the NFL in deep passing yards, in 2024, top 3 in 20-plus yards. So if they can get this run game going, it's going to open up the play action. Now, my worry with JSN is he's moving to the outside. He's going to face number 1 DBs with no Metcalf. I know everyone was excited with how good he did last year, but he played inside and he didn't have the top DBs. Now he's going to be the focal point of stopping the passing game. So I think he's going to deteriorate. Plus, when you look at his fantasy points per game, he had a ton of games where he just didn't score. He had like 5 boom games, and that was all his production. Cooper Kupp, high volume target. Is that going to be there after the injuries and a new scheme? We have MVS, who's a deep threat who played with Kubiak. They drafted Elijah Arellano from Miami. I think he's going to be more of the tight end check down guy. I think he's going to have a big part of this offense. Now, when we talk about the defense, rush 4, disguise the 4th rusher, CBs, weaker in man coverage. So it's important for Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, and rookie Nick Emawari, the safeties, to be elite and to help in coverage. Walker, to me, clear number 1 RB upside when we talk fantasy. Darnold, I think, is going to be a week-to-week play in DFS, as crazy as it sounds. Yeah. But my bet for this team is 2 bets. I was hyping this bet up. I took Kenneth Walker over 875.5 yards rushing and 80-1 to lead the league in rushing.
I love that.
Seattle cleaned house, new OC in Kubiak, new O-line coach, the godfather of the zone run, and Rick Dennison. Rick Dennison has a track record. This guy invented the modern zone game with Shanahan and Alex Gibbs, made Kamara a top 5 RB last year before he got hurt. Nearly won Isaiah Crowell a rushing title. He made Mike Anderson from Denver to lead the league in rushing. Adrian Foster with Dennison, Foster was a nobody from Tennessee, didn't get drafted. Goes to the Texans with Rick Dennison. Like 2 years, he was like the best running back in the game. He run a rushing.
Best back in the league.
Yeah. Kubiak's offense is built off the zone, outside zone, perfect for Walker's vision, burst, and cutback ability. Charbonnet is going to be more of the power guy. Walker's the home run hitter in the scheme. Cross, solid in both run and pass blocking. Rookie Gary Zabel, elite puller, tailor-made for zone. Right side dig struggle. But with how the scheme is, the zone scheme is designed to band-aid shitty offensive line. Look how bad on paper San Francisco's offensive line is and what they're able to do.
Because there's all these moving pieces all over. They kind of hide it. Yep.
Same idea here. Now, these are all guys that had top 10 rushing in there when they were under Rick Dennison. Some of them led the league. Mike Anderson, Justin Forsett, Steve Slayton, Ronnie Hardman, Adrian Foster.
Slayton was a good that the last for the pass there.
Walker, number one in missed talents, force per attempt, top 10 in yards after talent, breakaway speed to turn 10-yard runs into 60-yard TDs. Seattle will be a run-first team under McDonald with the scheme and everything. There is a path there for Kenneth Walker to win it. Now, obviously, if they get down, if a lot of the games they're losing, that, you know what I mean? That's the worry point. That's the big worry point. Now, if they aren't and they can lean on the clock and hand the ball to Kenneth Walker, with those guys that were won rushing titles or top 5 rushing, I mean, Ronnie fucking Hartman, Steve Slayton, there's a path for Kenneth Walker at 81 to have the most rushing yards.
I like that.
Does Darnold have the sauce without Kevin O'Connor? That's one of the questions from John in the chat room.
It's a good question. I think he'll be average. Like, I don't think we're going to see awful. I don't think we'll see what he was doing last year. I think he'll be fine. And like you said, there will be weeks where you actually may want to play him in DFS, or he could be a streamer for you if you're like if you're streaming quarterbacks week to week and, you know, in your weekly, in your yearly fantasy league. So while he had a better year last year than most people thought he ever had in him, right? So there is talent. There's a reason why he was a top pick. There was talent there. We saw similar things happen with Geno Smith after he was put in a bad spot. I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll be towards the top and of the league in a lot of stats. And last year he was pretty clutch in a lot of games too for them when they needed him to take the team on a big drive. He was doing that. I think he'll be maybe like an adult in the room now. The dynamic's going to shift for him. He's going to be kind of like the veteran now, whereas last year he was really having to prove it. So, you know, even as a USC fan, I was never really a Darnold guy coming into the league, you know, because there were some things I was worried about. His hands were small, so they always kind of talked about that. And then he got put in a bad spot with the Jets right away. He just wasn't getting the type of development he needed. Got that last year. And, you know, it kind of reminds me of another guy that you and I would talk about, Baker Mayfield. And I was higher on him than you were, but there was a point when you flipped a little bit on Baker, and it was after he spent some time with McVay. And then you kind of pointed out how, like, even just being with a really good coach for a while, Baker was able to see some things and was able to get like the best out of himself. I wonder if you'll see a little bit of that from Sam. You know, same sort of coaching staff, right? Like he knows some things he can and can't do now. So I think he'll be a better version of him than we saw before the Vikings.
I'm getting here late. Don't talk ugly about my Seahawks, dude. TC, man. Seahawks have my boy Dennison. I will never say a bad word about if your team has Rick Dennison on the coaching staff. I will never say a bad word.
And I'm week 1 on the Seahawks against the 49ers. I'm just sort of waiting for the best line we can get. I don't think they're going to be a doormat team either because their defense is solid. Like, I like their defense. They'll be able to get some stops. Will their pieces fit offensively? And will they get that improvement from the offensive line? Like you're saying, will they be able to scheme, run the ball? Then that'll take so much pressure off Sam if they can get a consistent run going.
I mean, I think this is just going to be like, you know, just shorten the game, lean on the run. Back when Russ was first starting out, when they didn't really air it out a lot. TC also chimes in, going to be betting the under on Seahawks games until we realize it's going to be all defense and running. 100%.
Yep.
100%
Totally agree.
That. Now, I hate to be the Debbie Downer in the room. Let's look at their schedule. This is before the bye. San Francisco at Pittsburgh, Saints at home, at Zona on a short week, Tampa Bay at Jacksonville, home against Houston.
There's just not that many wins that you can for sure say on the paper, right?
If they're hypothetically 2-5 going into the bye,
yeah,
is it Milroe time? Because they can get out of this contract after a year.
Yeah.
So
and let me say this: they don't. What you just hit on is perfect. They don't have to feel loyal if he's been struggling at that point. And like you said, if he's been struggling and there's any sense of like, he's been turning the ball over and they're 2-5, why do you stick with him the second half of the year? Right? I don't like it. It doesn't make as much sense. So that's a really good point on your end as well. I don't think it's not like a situation where they will feel the need. I was reading articles. I mean, somebody could possibly be a trade candidate, right? Like if there's some team out there looking for a quarterback that they could use and they're sort of struggling and they want to go in a different direction. So a lot can happen with this team, but I don't think they're going to be awful because of the defense, because the defense can keep them in games. I just don't know if the offensive pieces all fit with the line improvement. If they do, this could be a really fun, feisty team to play in some games where they're big dogs.
I think it depends what the 2-5 looks like. Are they close games or blowouts, plus what the other teams look like? So yeah, I mean, like if they're 2-5 and the team leading the division is 3-4 and they've lost, they're like all of them been 1-score games and they get blown out like 1 or 2 games. No, but if they're 2-5 and they haven't been close games, I think they can make a switch. Just kind of something to look at. And I mean, also if Milroe comes in, I kind of like that more because it's going to be more RPO.
Right.
And that's going to freeze the linebackers and it's going to freeze the safeties, open up more stuff for my boy Kenneth.
Another issue, another way of kind of hiding the offensive line too, right? If Milroe's in there running, you don't need as good of an offensive line if he's able to kind of grab it and go sometimes here and there. So yeah, keep an eye on that.
Now let's go to your team, the Rams, to win the Super Bowl 20-1, to win the NFC plus 990, to win the West plus 181, over under of 9.5, to make the playoffs minus 161, to miss the playoffs plus 131. What say you about the Rams?
What's crazy is if you look at their last 5 years, I think only one time they've gone what would have been under a 10 win. Mm-hmm. And that was when they were really banged up a couple years ago. So they've been very solid over the last 5 years or so. I love their young defense. Puka Nacua is one of the best wide receivers in the league. They went in, they got Devontae Adams. That's helpful. There are 2 humongously key spots for this team. The offensive line. They were bad last year, but they were just really inconsistent, Eric. That's what was so hard, is they would have some of these games that were really good, and then they would have other games where they were miserable. They couldn't block anyone, and you could just see that the Rams would have no chance in that game because they were not able to give Stafford any time whatsoever. And then the health of Stafford. You and I are sitting here on Tuesday. He was supposed to be practicing on Monday, but he wasn't feeling great, and he was hurting a little bit, and he was a little bit sore. He is, I think, for any team in the league, as important of a quarterback for their team and how good this team could be. Because with Stafford, with this good defense, if he's healthy, you've got Kyron Williams, who's become one of the better running backs over the last couple of years. You've got a nice 1-2 punch. You brought in Blake Corum as well. The receivers fit. Higbee's solid. If Stafford and the line are good, this is a very, very good football team. If Stafford and the line aren't good, I don't know what to expect. I would not play any season-long plays with the Rams because I think they are kind of like the 49ers, and I could see them going one way or the other. With the Rams, they're the type of team, when they're healthy in a one-game situation, they can beat anybody. So when, anytime that they're healthy and they're a little bit of a dog, those are the games where I'm attacking. Is that maybe like week 10 at San Francisco? Maybe that's week 14 at Arizona, even week 17 at Atlanta, situations like that. If Stafford's healthy, it could be week 3 at Philly. That could be a game. Remember who last year played the Eagles closest of any team? The Rams.
Your boy.
Along the way in the playoffs. They matched up pretty well with them. It's because their defensive front is good, and they can put some pressure on you to kind of neutralize the really strong line play from the Eagles there. So, yeah, I mean, a couple plays when they might be dogs, I'd be looking at them. What do you think about how the wide receivers are going to work together with Nakua and with Devontae Adams?
I mean, both of them were top 5 last year in first read rate. Stafford has a notorious history of targeting one guy. When you look at what he did with Calvin Johnson, look what he did with Cooper Kupp, and then it shifted over to Puka. I think we're going to see a big dip in Adams' production. I think this is still going to be Nakua's quote-unquote team. Plus,
I think so too.
He's going to be playing more of the inside part now, and Devontae Adams is going to be a little bit outside. When we look at their offensive line, they're 30th in pass blocking, 6th in rush blocking, 10th in sacks allowed, 10th in adjusted yards. Jackson suspended the first 2 games. Depth options are experienced, but they're not high ceiling players like him. I'm a little worried about Shelton coming in from Chicago. Solid fit, but not really an elite center. Guards are decent, but the pass blocking remains the weakness. And when you got Stafford, who's an older quarterback, battling numerous injuries, little bit of a worry point. Strong run game last season, and Stafford's quick release is able to mask a lot of the pass pro issues. McVay, thing with the Rams, 3rd last year, 81.3% in 11 personnel. That's slightly more than it's been the last couple of years. A lot of pre-snap motion to see the mismatch. Routes are designed to get first read options underneath, stretching the defense. That's why I think it's going to be a Puka type season. I think Puka is going to remain wide receiver 1. If you have a 9th to 12th in your draft, I would look to take Puka. We look at Kyron Williams, 80% snap share last season, 5.4 yards per carry. Plus, when we look at the team's performances on the schedule this year from last year, he's got the easiest run schedule for any running back.
Like that.
The worry point is 2 years in a row they've drafted a running back. 2 years ago, they brought in Blake Corum from Michigan. Last year, they brought in Hunter from Auburn. Is one of those guys going to cut into the workload? I mean, but then again, Williams just got paid. Are you going to run him into the ground now because you paid him? You know what I mean?
Like, doesn't catch as many passes, right, as some of the other top tier backs, right, that are more pass catchers too. Not quite as many. So, because you would get Nakua and Kupp the last couple of years, you would get a lot of the short stuff instead of running backs out of the backfield. So, I think he's sometimes a better running back for your real season than for your fantasy season. If you're taking one of those top tier running backs, he may not get as many touches because he doesn't get as many passes. So if you're kind of weighing between him and some of the others, while he's awesome for the Rams, on the field, sometimes he just doesn't get as many catches as like a McCaffrey would, or a Connors, or some of the other guys that we were talking about that you might be picking in the range with him.
Now, one of the things I've done on my show, on your show, is last 2 years, I've been able to get the Rams at +3 to 1 or better to make the playoffs. 2023 pre-bye, 3-6, 7-1 post-bye. Last year, 1-4 pre-bye, 9-2 post-bye. So, simple math. Last 2 years, they're 4-10 pre-bye, 16-3 post-bye. So historically speaking, they're going to start off the season a little bit slow. Now, bear with me. I am pulling up their schedule right now. When we look at their schedule, I mean, they start off with Houston, then they have back-to-back road games at the Titans, Eagles, Colts, 49ers, Ravens, Jags. I mean, this year their bye is not until late, right?
No, they're week 8 bye. So they go they play that game in London, I think, on week 7.
Yeah.
Then they get the bye after that. I mean, they could be 3-4.
Yeah, so if they're 3-4,
that point,
I kind of look to get involved in them
Yeah.
to kind of make the playoffs based on the trend.
Because coming out of the bye, they get New Orleans. They go at Frisco, but then 2 more home games in a row, Seattle, Tampa, and then Carolina. I mean, coming out of the bye, they could very easily go 4-1.
And I mean, that's
right.
I'm almost to my note about it right here. Last year, they finished with 10 wins, despite a 7.64 Pythagorean win total. Teams that overperform their Pythagorean win total by 2+ wins only hit their win total 32% of the time. So the trends say to bet they're under.
We're going to go backwards next year because you got a little lucky last year. Now the ball is going to kind of bounce against you this year a few ways,
And then my lean flyer on playoff berth or NFC West title after the bye to get some better odds. 2024, the defense looked great on service. But when we kind of look at a little deeper metrics, 7th in most yards, 22nd in sacks, 20th in pressure, 6th in missed tackles is the big thing that sticks out to me. You got to be able to wrap up. Shula their DC runs a 3-4, match zone coverage, cover 2 base. Pass rush is anchored by Verse and Young, both flashy, but they've been inconsistent. Secondary, it's going to rely on Williams and Witherspoon. I really thought off-season they're going to look to address that. They really didn't. So my DFS thing is I'm going to look early on in the season to take Nico Collins in DFS. You know what I mean? To attack
the receivers playing against them. Yeah.
Offense still creative, quarterback friendly. Offensive line pass pros kind of limits the season. Run game's going to be efficient. Puka's going to have a big season. Defense, I'm a little bit concerned about the 6 missed tackles. For me,
the middle of the defense, the middle part right there. Yes, I agree.
Like, there's a lot of sharp people that I know and respect that are hyping this team up, taking flyers on Stafford to win the MVP, taking them flyers on them to win it all. You cannot be 6 in missed tackles.
No way.
To win a title. So they have to be able to wrap up. I think there's going to be a part of the season, though, with historically how they've done with their starts, where we can buy back into them like we've done. I think I got them at plus 310 2 years ago and plus 360 last year. There's going to be times where we can buy back in, and that's going to be what I'm going to look to do with this team. So pre-flop nothing. So just to review my bets for the West, I took the 49ers at 20-1 to win it all. The Cardinals at plus 148 to make the playoffs. Kenneth Walker over 875.5 yards rushing, and Kenneth Walker 80-1 to have the most rushing yards. What are you working with here, my friend?
A lot of mine are leaning Cardinals. Cardinals to win the division. Look for the best number you could find there. Kyler Murray, look for the best number you could find on his passing yards. I think it was in the 40, 45, I think it was like 38 on his full season passing yards, like 3,800 or so. His rushing yards, I think, were like 475 in that range. I was over on both of those, but look for the lowest numbers that you can, obviously, if we're going over on those. For Seattle, I'm going to play Seattle week 1 against San Francisco at home as the home dog, but I'm waiting to see if we can get that 3 or a little bit above on that one. And what you were talking about with the Rams, I'm absolutely going to do that with the 49ers as well. I think the second half of their schedule is so easy. I'm hoping that they kind of stub their toes and stumble in 1 or 2 games early in the year when the receivers might still be banged up. Ayuk might not be around. Then after the bye, they get healthier. And that's when maybe they're 5-6, 6-5, and we can bet them to win the division. We can get better odds on them, making the NFC championship, making the Super Bowl, those kinds of plays. So those will be a few of my major plays in here. For the Rams, it'll be a little bit kind of sit and wait because I am a bit nervous about Stafford right now. But they are the type of team, as I hit, when they're dogs, if Stafford's healthy and they're a dog, then I like them because they punch up very, very well. So week 3 at Philly might be a game I'm attacking with the Rams. If Stafford's there, we can get like plus 4.5, plus 5, maybe something like that in week 3.
Plus you get the angle of the quote unquote
revenge. Right.
Now you mentioned the week 1. For those who weren't here earlier, let me repeat it. Divisional dogs, this is all week 1. 70 and 49 ATS, that's 59% with a 14% ROI. Now, when they're home, like Seattle's going to be 28 and 15, 65%, 27% ROI. Now, straight up, 28% ROI. I mean, look, I am not going to lie. I am pulling it up right now. You can get a 3 right now if you're able to shop around. I believe on ProphetX you can actually get a 3 if you shop around on it. So make sure to check that out. Gino, thank you for coming on. Make sure to check out good old DRFTC. Good job, guys. I mean, you'd win the most money if you pick Seattle to win the whole thing. Good. Okay, I got you, TC. I got you. TC, speaking of your teams, dude, not to be that guy. How the Royals doing, buddy? How the Royals doing? Just talking shit. I love you. Thank you for everyone tuning in. We'll be back next week with Justin from Justin Ball Sports talking a little NFC East. Make sure to check that man out at drf.com. Gino and I are going to be doing some stuff for DRF during the NFL and college football season, so be on the lookout for that. I appreciate you turning on, man, especially on vacation down in Dallas. Enjoy your time, man.
Anytime.
Try to get to a Rangers games, dude. Those are fun, bro.
It's awesome out here. We're going to the Great Wolf Lodge tomorrow. Take Milo for swimming some indoor. It's like the indoor water park there. So yeah, I'll have some fun there.
That should be fun. Give this man a follow. Best of luck in your futures, man. We'll talk soon, dude.
Good luck, everyone.